We got a motorcycle in the background there too,
Oh, well.
or a
Did it
car,
get
or
the
whatever.
can?
Oh, it picked it up. We got a
All
good
right,
start. It was full,
finally.
bold,
Full
great.
bold. Yeah, a guy driving a motorcycle around my house is cutting through the window, but that's all right.
Man, we watched so much band on Saturday.
Man, it was actually pretty wild how it worked out over those 2 weekends with like the Dallas regional and then California, Dayton, New Jersey. We pretty much saw every group except Monarch, Strike, and Infinity, or something
Because
like that. Maybe there's a couple
personally,
others.
I'm not convinced Monarch exists this year.
Oh yeah, Rise and Blue Knights, and I haven't seen those groups too, either. And NBA I haven't seen in a while, but
Yeah, it's been a minute for them, but
yeah, Monarch's like ghost in there. But I did see too that they randomly announced their show theme like a few days ago. We're like 4 weeks away from finals. It's like, oh, here's our show. Actually,
building
usually people
suspense,
do
man.
that.
Building suspense, I
guess.
guess. But so before we get into today's follow-up predictions and post mega regional, like 3 different regionals we watched Saturday. We're recording this on March 30th. So welcome everyone to the Aged Out Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Fantini, and with me as always is
Evan Worrell.
And before we hop in to this quick mini episode today, make sure you head over to LoneStarPercussion.com. Use the discount code AGEDOUT to save yourself $10 on any order of $50 or more. They've been a sponsor of the podcast and YouTube channel for a while now. Everybody wins in that arrangement. Save yourself some money. Go over to social media, Facebook, Instagram, so you never miss an update. Subscribe and follow there. Subscribe also if you're listening on podcast services even. Just head over to YouTube. Subscribe. Check out some of the reaction videos. We post clips from these podcasts sporadically as we get time to make them, etc. Subscribe over there. Yeah, check out all the content. And then did I miss anything? Patreon.com. Yeah, go there. You can give as little as $1. Kind of scatterbrained today.
Sorry, we're doing it at a less than normal time just because our schedules work this way today. But so that's all right.
Yeah.
Right after work, post-work mode, when normally you just want to wind down, but we're like, all right, we got time. Let's jump into this podcast.
Yeah, my roommates aren't home, so I don't have to annoy anyone and make them be quiet for like 45 minutes. So that's a win.
Win, win, win. But yeah, great, dude. Great day of band. Sometimes I wish that the stream had better audio quality so we could give like a little bit more in depth. I would say I'm using like multiple things to make these predictions. One is like watching the actual show in its totality on the stream or if they're floating around YouTube. Then I would say another is just watching lot videos for those guys out there being the unsung heroes. George Collins, our Base 311 at Drum Corps Coffee Shop, those two dudes. Evan Guerra at Drumline AV. Thankfully, they're like keeping the culture alive.
Right.
And so we can see all that stuff. And then I would say the third one is just kind of like following recaps and looking at that, like who placed where. I try not to look at penalties just because I'm going to go under the assumption that everybody at finals is not going to get a penalty. So I just kind of look at the raw scores of that stuff. And actually my buddy Colton, who he taught with me at Cap City a few years ago, has a pretty cool spreadsheet he's put together with like predictions and like how it like adds like points per week, like based on their current score and projects what they may score at finals. Although this weekend it was kind of wild. Everybody dropped like 95s, 94, 93s.
I know, dude.
The scores were crazy.
So high.
They were crazy inflated.
There's that motorcycle
I don't
again.
understand. People were going like 89 one week and then like next week they had like a 95. I was like, what the hell is going on?
I bet what happened was some good groups went really early. Or like some groups that typically don't. I don't know. Somebody probably popped the number and they boxed themselves in. And they had to be like, well, they're as good as them, so they get a 94 too.
For instance, I know Cap City popped a 90 this weekend, and they've never scored a 90 ever in the ensemble's history. So
what you're saying is the record is going to be broken at finals with a 99.99. That's what I'm hearing.
Just by force. I feel like the 15th place group is going to get a 90.
I mean, I know we say the average of the activity is getting insanely better year over year, but not this much.
Right. So I do have some predictions. I don't know how you want to.
Yeah, we'll dive right in here in a second. I just want to add about the sound quality thing with Flow. Dayton had a pretty good quality audio setup. We were able to hear pretty clearly. The California regional or the East Coast regional with GMU and United and stuff, like it was okay. Not as good as the Dayton Regionals clarity you could hear through it. California's I thought was the worst.
Yeah,
So
it was awful.
So our read on the California groups from a clarity standpoint wasn't the best. We did adjust one of the like Evans TV settings halfway through that like honed in more on like the higher pitches of like a snare line and stuff, so we could hear more of it there. But that was like after Broken City had already gone and like halfway through RCC or something. So it was fixed a little bit. So we have no idea how cleanly Broken City played on the floor, but we got a good read of the show, have an idea of what they're doing. So now that that's out there, I say we just kind of, I think the plan, we'll keep this short. It's like a mini episode before our finals recap episode of our updated predictions. I've got my top 15 next to me in a Google Sheet. So let's just go through it. And why don't you start and start with like who you think's going to win and why based on what you saw. And then we'll kind of just riff from there.
Okay. I mean, I do have top 15 and also my semifinals and prelims groupings too.
All right. Well, I only did top 15, so we'll do top 15 first, and then you can talk about prelims to semis and stuff as you want to.
I'm going to put a disclaimer out here as well. The groups, it was incredibly hard for me to make this list. I'm not going to lie.
Same.
Everybody, I feel like I've got probably the right groups in finals, semis, and prelims, but honestly, groups 7, maybe 8 through like 18 are really hard to order, especially that like 10 to 18 range. It's just like, I feel like I'm filling out a March Madness bracket and anything could happen and any person could be in, and I'd be like, yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I could see that happening too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I could see that happening.
I 100% agree. And part of it, you and I talked about this a little bit on the phone yesterday, talking about doing this episode. It's like, it's really difficult. And part of it is we just haven't seen as much from all those groups as we have the top 5 or top 6 or 7 usually. Like, it's just, there's too much to watch. And some of them don't even have content out there to really absorb to have a good opinion out. Like, we might catch them on a regional stream or something, and that's it. So it's like,
it's a big difference too between me just watching the show as a whole and making an opinion and a kind of educated guess on it versus when you have, I believe they do 8. It's either 6 or 8. I don't know. 6 judges, 8 judges who are judging a specific area, and like you never know how the numbers are going to fall. Like, oh, when you're only watching to judge visual, you may see it differently than me just watching the whole thing.
Yeah.
So starting off, I still do have Rhythm X in first. Call me a homer. It's fine. For a couple of reasons.
I'll let you say yours first, and then I'll talk about it.
I think we're going to agree on a lot of this. I think that their show is the most memorable. And I do think that they're going to play well. And they do play really well. But I think that their show has those moments that just stick with you. Like, you'll think about like a day later. Their Nirvana stuff is so well known, but it stays in your brain. And as a judge, I think that means a lot. Like, how effective it is. It's just like you can vibe to it. They have some cool moments. The way that the soundscape and the visual scape looks with the uniforms on the tarp is awesome. So they killed that. But I just think that show has the most, I guess.
I 100% agree. I thought they played extremely well. You and I were like up by the TV to make sure we could hear it, and like we're laughing as they nail the full battery moments. The snare feature at the beginning was nasty for prelims. Like, it just,
I'm surprised they didn't win that regional by more.
I was pretty shocked at the gap. The gap widened on finals day, didn't it?
I think a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but I was surprised because I don't think Mystique's going to medal, which is why I'm kind of surprised. Unless you and I are just really dumb with all this prediction in our analysis, but I was surprised how close it was too, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. The reason that I have Pulse in second is because their show is good and they play phenomenal.
Yeah.
But there's not really anything about it that, like, after I'm done, it just like sticks with me. You know, it's like like a memorable moment. They do what they do incredibly well. This show for me just isn't one where 2 days later I'm like, oh yeah, remember that thing Pulse did?
Exactly.
Like the out of the box year where they hung upside down, or any of those years they won.
Pulse's shows for me tends to have a level of genericness to them in terms of the style that they use to design their shows. They're very good. They check all the boxes. They just seem like some years they have those standout shows, like like where they hung upside down and stuff, and they really go above and beyond, in my opinion. But a lot of them, like I just watched it and went, and I was like, well, yeah, it's just a Pulse show.
Yeah, that
Like,
Uninvited show, that's one of my favorites from there.
yeah, same
I
thing.
don't even know
Love
if they
that
won
show.
year, but I love that one.
But this year's show just like didn't do much beyond just making me think, oh, it's a Pulse show, and they're playing their nuts off. So kudos for that. So I want to follow this up with, we both think X is going to win, but there is a world where Pulse wins. I think this season is kind of akin to 2010, where X and Pulse, well, Pulse kind of came out of nowhere in 2010, I feel like, when they came out to Dayton. But where I'm going with this is, X's show is much better, in my opinion, from a GE standpoint, from a design, from a moment-to-moment standpoint. But I think Pulse plays so well. They're so clean. And I think, now granted, I think X's battery and just ensemble plays better than X's did in 2010 from a clarity standpoint and an ensemble standpoint. But I think if X drops the ball and doesn't have a clean run, it'll leave the door open for Pulse to just play a perfect show or close to perfect show, and they'll beat them.
Yeah, and I think, and my friend Colton said this too, and this is part of my reasoning for my order too, is that there are some groups that just know how to finish finals week well.
Yes.
And Rhythm X is for sure one of those ensembles that could rewrite the entire closer finals week, and it would just be balling.
Because they've done that multiple years.
Yeah, they know how to finish the season strong.
Yep.
Not that say that Pulse doesn't, but there are groups that don't. So, all right, we'll keep moving. But So our Rhythm X, Pulse, Broken City, I think they'll stay in medal contention. They have never not medaled as an ensemble since they've become a thing. I think that they play well. And I think WGI has an appreciation for what they do, as much as like it's kind of lost its excitement for me personally.
Yeah.
It's definitely not as exciting as it was or as fresh as 2016 and 17, in my opinion. But
yes,
they are really good.
Seeing their show at the regional, it was like, oh, this is very similar to what they've done the past few years. Very, very similar. And again, they play really well. The book is well written. Ensemble, they're just doing the same things. Excuse me. They're just doing the same things that they've been doing. And for me, like you said personally, that it was really fresh and awesome the first couple of years. But now I'm just kind of like, I think, to put it more bluntly than you did, I think they'll medal as well and get third. And I'm not saying they don't deserve to. I'm not saying the kids don't play well enough to get a bronze medal at all. I just think part of it is they're going to play well, obviously. The book is difficult, like it always is, with tons of space and how they do what they do. But I also just think the activity kind of has a hard-on for what they do right now still. Right. And, yeah. So I agree. I think they'll get a bronze medal.
So, yeah. And then I have MCM and RCC in 4th and 5th. I bumped RCC up because after seeing them at the regional, it's still just a really good ensemble.
Yeah.
They move so well. The visual program is still alive and well, and they got a lot better from the last time I saw them. I just think that they'll kind of stay in that top 5.
We had said in our last prediction that they were going to get beat by GMU, and right when they got done at that regional, you and I looked at each other and went, I don't think GMU is going to beat them anymore. They got a lot better.
Yeah. I do, however, still see GMU in 6th, and some people listen to this may be like, well, they got beat by United this past weekend. It's like, I understand that, but if you look at the recap and prelims, is really, they won 3 out of the 4 judges, and one judge really just kind of tanked them for some reason. Like, the spread was egregious. Even if he had put them in 2nd but kept a decent spread, they still would have won prelims. And then in finals, their DTX pad, which is the most integral part of their show and ties the entire show together, didn't work. So I still feel like GMU is better than United. The show, I feel like they play better. I feel like the visual package is better. I just think they're still going to beat United.
I would agree. I have GMU in 6th as well. I think the RCC Mystique in 4th and 5th could be in any order. I think whoever shows up and plays better. I'll reiterate. I understand what Mystique is doing this year, and I think it all works as a cohesive show. I just think it's kind of not coming off as well as they probably thought it might. And I think they could beat RCC. So RCC Mystique could be 4-5, or it could go Mystique RCC. I don't know. We'll just see who plays better and what happens. That's what I think there. But yeah, and then again, I have GMU in 6th, and then I have Matrix in 7th.
Same. I'll just go through my next 3 here. Matrix 7th, United 8th, Infinity 9th. I think Matrix has just they've been around so long. They know how to score points. They know how to write a show to score points.
Yep.
So yeah, I think that they'll be 7th. United, they play really well. The show, the beginning of it is really cool, and then it kind of gets a little stale, but they play really well. So I think that that's going to carry them. Infinity, they have a pretty good show. I know they got like a pretty egregious penalty down there at their state championships as well, where they technically got beat by strike, but really if you took out the penalty, they did not. And it wasn't really close. And Infinity's another one of those ensembles that just doesn't seem to not be in the top 10.
It's funny you say that. I've got them in 11th. But again, that's one of those groups that I haven't seen hardly anything from. I acknowledge they will probably be in that 8 to 12 range, and I just don't know where to put them. So I was like, well, I've seen United. They play well. I agree with you on their show.
What's your 7, 8, 9?
So 7 is Matrix, 8 is United. I have Monarch in 9th just because they're typically solid and have been good the past few years. Again, they fall in that category with Infinity where I haven't seen hardly anything, so I'm kind of just going on the history of the group to being like, okay, I think they'll be at the bottom half of the top 10, probably 9th, 10th, somewhere around there, maybe 11th. I think the 9, 10, 11, I have Monarch, POW, Infinity, and that could be in any order. I honestly don't know enough. It's like a March Madness bracket, like you said. It's like you look at the you look at the school on the line that's the 9 seed and go, I haven't seen them play all year. I know nothing. So
almost like betting on horse racing. Who's got the number that you like and the colors of the jockey that you like?
Yeah, but I do stand by Monarch will probably be in the bottom half of the top 10. Again, you and I disagree on Infinity a little bit, but you've seen them more than me, I think. So I would probably trust you a little more than me. But
I've watched some lot videos and I've seen some pretty poor angles of the show. So we'll see. My 10 spot, 10, 11, 12, I have POW, Cap City, Monarch. POW's another one of those groups that they just know how to write a show that scores points, and they play usually pretty well. Cap City has a strong show. They play a ton of notes. The beginning of the show certainly has a lot of legs. Hopefully they can, I think down the stretch, if they can find some ways to create some more readability on a one-run, like a one-judge show, they could bump up even higher than 11th. Potentially, because they definitely have some hands and playing in that show as well. And then Monarch 12th, like I don't know what I'm just throwing them. I saw like a one random clip of like a snare solo on a football field from a warm up for a show, and that was pretty much it. And then there was one clip from like the back side of one of their run throughs, which was pretty useless. So it's just I put them at 12th because I don't know, but they could come out and be 8th.
Yeah.
Who freaking knows?
Who knows? I agree. My 10, 11, 12, I had POW in 10th as well. Infinity in 11, like I said. Then I have Cap City in 12. I think there's going to be... I think Cap City's book is there. The show's fast. They did declutter the floor. I noticed. It feels like they decluttered the floor visually a little bit, which helped the readability of the show a lot. They
still need to get rid of those pots and pans in the front ensemble. So if anybody listens to that, cut that right away.
But yeah, so that's our hodgepodge of those middle groups of finals. The bottom, the 13, 14, 15 slot, I think is more interesting from a discussion standpoint because I think we've got some newcomers that both of us think are going to make it, and then we have a disagreement about that 15th spot. So you want to lead here for 13 through 15, and then we'll keep going?
Sure. So I have 13th Rhythmic Force out of Texas. 14th Vigilantes, also out of Texas. And then 15th, I have Red Wave, who was a newly promoted ensemble to world class and did really well at the Cali Regional. Actually, a buddy of mine runs that ensemble, Joe Avery, who stood next to me at Crown in 09. What's up, Joe? And yeah, I think that we're going to have 3 new groups break into finals, which would be awesome.
I agree with the Vigilantes and Rhythmic Force. I have
Same
their
order?
order switched. I have
Okay.
Vigilantes getting 13th and Rhythmic Force getting 14th because I think, and you and I talked about this a little bit on Saturday, I'm going to give the nod to Vigilantes because I think their playing is going to be better than Rhythmic Force's. Vigilantes show is good enough that I think their playing is going to be farther ahead of Rhythmic Force's to where it'll push them into 13. And Rhythmic Force, even though their show might be better from a design standpoint, I think they're going to be below Vigilantes on playing clarity.
Yeah, I think that I like the Rhythmic Force show better for sure, just as far as the way it relates to sheets and how you score points and stuff like that. I would say I like the Vigilante snare line better right now, and maybe the quad line. I don't know, dude. I'm splitting hairs, but I don't know. I just think Rhythmic Force is still going to pull. We'll see. I think they'll be over. So and then
I have Redline.
So yeah, go ahead, finish.
I have Redline in 15th. I think they're going to break back into finals. I like their show. I think they took that, like we said before, that simple, easy to understand, easy to read choice in a design process, and they're playing better this year than they have in the past few years. So I think Redline's going to squeak in again for the first time since like 2017, 16, whatever it was.
I think it's 17.
So yeah,
I could see that. I could see a scenario where Dark Sky gets in.
Yeah, could also happen.
They had a pretty big gap between them and Red Wave out the regional, but I think that they also have room to grow if they clean up, because I just think Red Wave was a lot cleaner than Dark Sky was at that show. And AQ. So these are my semifinalists right now, and I'll just go through that. So my semifinalists, and these aren't in order. I just have them in a group. Like I think these will be the semifinalists, whatever order it is. Dark Sky, Atlanta Quest, Redline, Strike, and Connexus.
Say that one more time.
Dark Sky, Atlanta Quest, Redline, Strike, and Connexus. I think those will be the other top 20, 16 through 20. The order, who knows? One of those could squeak into the 16s or 15 spot, 14 spot, and bump somebody else out. That it was really hard to I messed with that 12 to 18 range a lot.
yeah.
So.
And I agree with those semifinal predictions. Like you said, AQ could squeak in, Strike could squeak in, Dark Sky could squeak in. Who knows? It's when you get to this tier of the groups, the consistency from performance to performance is going to change and go down a little bit just because of the talent level and the experience level of the members typically. So it's usually a dogfight down there.
And when all those groups aren't like a clear cut head and shoulders above another group, like anything could happen.
Yeah.
Like when you're not like, oh, this is for sure a top 5 group, like you could almost end up anywhere. I think that's fair to say that there's been a consistent top 5 groups, and then even a consistent 6 to 10 groups. But when you get to 11 through 18, you can almost roll the dice on how the judges will interpret it. It's going to be pretty much a bloodbath.
Yeah.
And then I actually feel pretty confident about my prelims, the bottom 8 or 9 or whatever it is: Veritas, Blue Knights, Audio Theater. Although I haven't seen Blue Knights at all, so who knows? Audio Theater, Rise, Imperial Dynasty, Minnesota MBI, Fourth Wall, Flux. I feel pretty solid about that grouping. Yep. The order, who knows? But I think that those will be the groups that stop after prelims.
No, yeah, I think you're right there. I don't think we have much disagreement. But again, caveat: whoever shows up in that range, especially at the finals cutoff line and the semifinals cutoff line, we'll see. I'm excited. I think this year's got a lot of quality groups, a lot of quality playing and show designs happening, and I'm excited to go to finals. I think we've locked in our plans of we're going to be there all day Friday, drive up Friday morning, semis day, watch as much as we can, stay overnight, and then we're probably going to be around most of the day Saturday, but I don't think we're going to stick around overnight for awards or anything like that. I think we're going to drive back to Kentucky.
We live pretty close to Dayton, within a couple hours, 2.5, but Although I would like to stay and hang out with my friends. Most of them will probably be in retreat until like 1
2
a.m.
a.m. Yeah, 1:30.
So,
Yeah. So,
but I'll also be looking forward to if I get these wrong people, the DMs be like, "I told you we make finals. I told you." I'm like, "All right, yeah, you made finals."
yeah, we're going to be wrong. We are not going to be 100% correct on our predictions.
Yeah.
Someone's going to make finals that we didn't see coming. Someone's going to beat someone that we
Order
didn't
won't
see.
be right.
No.
However, if I do get this entire order right, I'll just be like, "In your face." Get out of my DMs.
All right. Well, obviously, if you see us at semis or finals day, feel free to say hello in the lot. Whatever, we'll be around.
I'll probably wear my podcast T-shirt.
Yeah, we'll both have it on one of the days at least.
Nice and
yeah.
nerdy.
Yeah, right. I think let's close this out. Little mini episode here. Again, LoneStarPercussion.com, discount code aged out. Facebook, Instagram. Let us know what you think in the comments on YouTube. Do you agree with our predictions? Do you think we're crazy? Give us your own list of top 15, top 18, 20, whatever you want to do. If you're listening on podcast services, go over to YouTube anyway and let us know. So, yeah, that's all I've got. And we'll probably not do... We got some more reaction videos we'll do between now and finals, but I don't think we're going to do another podcast till post-finals. So we will see everybody on the other side.
Peace.